Hey Wikia, I'm Grae Drake from Rotten Tomatoes, and this is our final episode for Season 5 of The Walking Dead. The episode 16 that we're talking about today is Conquer, and joining me, as always, is my formidable foe, WalkerTexasRanger.
Hello, always a pleasure.
This episode is rated 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, and one of the reasons maybe that it has such a high score is that we finally solved the W mystery. With the W on the zombies' foreheads. What'd you think of that?
I think it's kind of a cheap, like cliffhanger bait tactic. Honestly, I rather would have seen them just answer more questions than they really did. They just added a whole new pile of questions.
Really, guys? It just stands for wolves?
Yeah.
Is that all? That's what it stands for? I think those guys are a bunch of amateurs, and I think that they like to carve things in people's flesh, but they're not really any match for our guys, because as we've seen in this season, our guys are truly the most badass of all badasses. At the end of the episode, we see that finally Deanna she's seen the light, I feel like. It took was the very unfortunate event of her husband getting accidentally killed for her to just be like, oh yeah, Rick, pop him, pow.
Right, exactly. It was. You should be an actor on The Walking Dead.
Isn't it funny how that's the thing that immediately makes you understand you have to be violent? Is right. Immediately when your family gets killed.
Yeah, it wasn't the walker that Rick brought in. It wasn't knowing that there might be more walkers in there. It was seeing her husband in this most unfortunate accident.
It seems like just every single story beat is about them about our group versus the people at the camp already. You know, it's like, right. Should people be violent? Does that solve anything, or does it create a problem? You know, I think that you see it in every single scene, and it's probably one of the more simplistic and transparent things that they've written. I'm into it, but I really hope that they start to pick it up next season a little bit and stop it's almost like at the end of every scene they go, did you get that?
Yep, absolutely.
Did you like it as the season finale to season 5?
Well, I'll say this first. As an episode, it was okay. It wasn't bad, it wasn't good. As a season finale, as with pretty much every other season finale in the show, it was bad. It left you hanging in so many ways. I mean, sure, you got to see Enter the Morgan, which was cool, but like everything else, it didn't need to be dragged on for an hour and 30 minutes just to hammer up across that point that we already know that you have to be tough to survive, or you have to have a heart to have family or whatever.
They shouldn't have had those extra 30 minutes. That was a mistake. I think that they had way too much time to actually solve storylines. I would actually have preferred not to know what happened to Glenn. I would have liked to have seen that be a cliffhanger. And the fact that Morgan shows up and sees Rick popping him in the head, that's not a good season finale to me. I did think this episode has some great zombie kills, as the whole season has. Daryl with his chain, and that was so dope. But
Ghost Rider style.
This was not a good season finale. I was actually kind of disappointed in it. I get the themes, I get what you're saying, but they're starting to spin their wheels just a little bit, and I thought there was nothing cliffhangery about this one that makes me want to turn it on next season at all. I do want to say, however, that I'm so excited that Carol is officially our little our little motherly psychopath now. She is so foreboding in her little cardigans, and I just love her. Like, who knew that Carol would become scarier than Rick?
Yeah.
So we managed to make it through this whole thing without muting each other once, because ultimately I feel like we agree on this one. It was kind of a meh.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the opinions that matter the most are those of you watching, so make sure that you comment, let us know who you think is right, and if you think we're both crazy, then you need to tell us. We'll see you next season.
Later.